break down a chord melody version of O Come All Ye Faithful. If you're one of the gang on our Patreon page, you'll have seen the tab and the video for the vocal melody, or the tune of the song, played with single notes. In this video, I'm going to show you some possibilities for adding a chord around the notes, just to bring a bit of a fuller sound to proceedings. Okay, let's jump in. The first melody phrase we're dealing with is so on the tab on the Patreon page, that's the first line and the first note on the second line. The first melody note gets played twice. It's an open G, and then it's the D string open, and then the G string. So 0 0 on the G, 0 on the D, 0 on the G. We're going to surround that with a G major chord. Now for most of this, we don't have to always build the full chord. In this instance, for the G, we're going to play the second finger on the 3rd fret of the low E, and everything else can be open. And we're just going to use our thumb to pluck the low E, the first finger on the D, which is open, second finger on the G, which is open, and the 3rd finger on the B, which are open. And we can pinch down with the thumb and up with the fingers twice. Then we play the open D and then the open G. So we get, and then we're going to change to a D major, because the next melody note is the 2nd fret of the G string, and in our D, open D string, 2nd fret G, 3rd fret B, open, 2nd fret high E, we have that 2nd fret in there. So now we get, and this time, thumb on the D string, first finger on the G, second finger on the B, 3rd finger on the E, pinching them all together. And then we're going to pluck with our thumb just the D. Let's check out the first little 2-bar phrase there. Lovely. And again, slower. Then we go to a G, like we did before, with just the 2nd finger down. Now the melody note is on the open B string, so we can pinch thumb on the E, first finger on the D, 2nd finger on the G, 3rd finger on the B. Then we change to a D, and we play D, G, B and E in terms of strings, and the melody note's the 2nd fret of the G. Then we go back to the G how we just did it, so 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the low E, pluck in the E, D, G and B, and then we go to a C, because the melody note now is the 1st fret of the B string, and that is in the C chord. We also have the 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the A, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the D, and open G, 1st finger on the 1st fret of the B. And with our 4 digits that we're using, because we're not using the pinky for any of this song, we pinch the middle 4 strings, A, D, G and B. I'm going to play everything up to there. Then we go back to G, and we make sure we've got an open B string. We don't put that 3rd finger down on the 3rd fret of the B, because the melody note is the open B. Then we play D major, how we have every time so far, thumb on the D, 1st finger G, 2nd finger B, 3rd finger high E, and the melody note was the 2nd fret of the G. Then we take that off and we pluck just an open G, and then another open G for our next melody note. Let me play you everything so far nice and slow. That last open G string I played can be within an E minor chord if we can get to it. So this is the first note on the 2nd line of the tab. And for the E minor, we can put the fingers down on the 2nd fret of the A and the 2nd fret of the D, but we don't have to. We could just target thumb on the low E, open D, open G and open B. Then we go to play 4 on the D, and 2 on the G. We're just going to hit those middle 2 strings. So 1st finger 2nd fret G, pinky 4th fret D. We could get a bit fancy there and play like an inversion of a D chord or a D7, but I'm not going to confuse things there because it's quite a tricky shape as it is. So we get E minor, we're aiming for the 4th fret of the D, and then we play an A major, 2 on the D, 2 on the G, 2 on the B with an open A and E. And the melody note there is the 2nd fret of the D. So that first bar on the 2nd line goes E minor, 4 on the D, 2 on the G, A major, then we go back to that 4 on the D, 2 on the G thing, then we play an open A, sorry, completely incorrect, then we play an open G, so we get the 4 on the D as the melody note in conjunction with the 2 on the G, then an open G, then I want you to play an A major because the melody note is the 2nd fret of the G string, then the G major with an open B because that's our melody notes. Then that 4 trick, 4 on the D, 2 on the G, back to A because the melody note is 2 on the D, then D major, top 4 strings, thumb on the D, 1st finger G, 2nd finger B, 3rd finger high E, and we hit that twice, and the melody note there is the open D string twice. I'm going to play the melody from bar 5, or the 1st bar of the 2nd line, just so you can hear the melody. That's the melody, and chordally we went. That'll take a little bit of work for those 4 bars, but I promise you it's worth it when you stick it all together. From bar 9, or the 1st bar on the 3rd line of the tab, we play G, but this time we put our 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string because that's the melody note. This is where we get 3, 1, 0, 1, 0. We can think in terms of the pitch of the note, D, C, B, C, B. Chords get a bit easier here. We're going to go G, D7, G, D7, G. Now the G when we start off has the 3rd finger down on the 3rd fret of the B, because like we said that's the melody note. We're going to do a customary thumb on the E, 1st finger on the D, 2nd finger on the G, 3rd finger on the B for this version of the G. Then we change to a D7. D7 is 2nd finger, 2nd fret G, 1st finger, 1st fret B, 3rd finger, 2nd fret high E. The melody note is the 1st fret of the B, and we do thumb with the picking hand, thumb on the D, 1st finger on the G, 2nd finger on the B, 3rd finger on the E. Said that quite quick, didn't I? Thumb on the D, 1st finger on the G, 2nd finger on the B, 3rd finger on the high E. So we've got G, D7, back to G, but with an open B this time. So you could go, get your 3rd finger to get that 3rd fret of the low E, so you can go straight back, because this is what we need to do, to D7, and then back to G again with an open B. Let me show you that move. And then we go standard D major, thumb on the D string, 1st finger on the G, 2nd finger on the B, 3rd finger on the high E. Play the D, the melody note is the 2 on the G, then play the G chord, but with an open B. And then we're going to play E minor, and then step down from the thumb being on the low E, open. We can have the 2nd fret of the D on and an open G, and then on its own we're going to pluck 2 on the G. So let me show you that bar slowly. And then we get 4 on the D, 2 on the G, the trick we've used there before. And then we're going to pluck just single notes, 2 on the D, 0 on the D, and then G at the end of bar 12 there. So last thing on the 3rd line down. Let me play that section slowly. Might need to re-watch that. That was 9, 10, 11 and 12 in terms of bars. We're into bar 13. Possibly lucky for us because things are kind of coming towards a conclusion and our brains are probably aching a bit now. We play the G chord again with the open G being our melody note. Thumb on the low E, 1st finger on the D, 2nd finger on the G, 3rd finger on the B. Then we do our 4 on the D, 2 on the G trick. Then we go back to G, open G is the melody note. D major, now the 2nd fret of the G was the melody note there. Let me show you that bar slowly. And then we add on a G with another open G serving as the melody note. Then D chord with the D string open being our melody notes, and then G major with an open B for our melody note. Let me just show you that melody section on its own. So that's what we had there. And the chords go G, 4 and 2, G, 2 with a D, sorry, G, D, G. Then we hit the G again, and then D again. 2 on the G string is the melody note. Open G, with the open B string, sorry, being the melody note there. So we're in bar 15 now on the tab, and we're going G, D, G, and then C. Because in C we have the 1 on the B, which is our melody note, and then G, D, G to finish off bar 16. That section from bar 13 goes, in fact I'm going to play the last beat of bar 12 because that kind of is part of this phrase. G, G, 4 and 2, G, D, G, D, G, G, D, G, C, G, D, G, and then to finish off bar 17, 18, 19 and 20 coming at you, we go C, because the melody note is the first fret of the B, and then G, because the melody note, open B, is the open B string, D with the second fret of the G as the melody note, and then a G with an open G as the melody note. So bar 17 goes C, G, D, G, and then the 4 and 2 trick, and then a G, but with an open G string serving as the melody, then C, because the 1 on the B string is the melody, G with an open B is the melody, just 3 things left, then D, because the second fret of the G is the melody, open G, and then strum a G major to finish. So that melody from bar 17 was, and we played C, G, D, G, 4 and 2, G, C, G, D, open G, G to finish. And if you're feeling really brave, you could finish it off with some nice harmonics at the 12th fret, right over the fret wire, lightly touching, right over the fret but not pressing the string down, just grazing the string. If you play the D string, G string and B string, that lovely bell type sound, and it's just an inversion of a G major chord. Let me play that last line once more. C, G, D, G, 4 and 2, G, C, G, D, open G to finish. I know there's a lot in there, and it's going up in December. It's the 18th of December when I'm filming this video in 2020. You might be like, I'm never going to have this down this Christmas, but make it a challenge for next year. Set a reminder on your phone for mid-November to give you plenty of time. Or set it as a challenge, half an hour a day. I think you could have that down for Christmas Eve, couldn't you? Awesome! Lovely stuff. So the premise is the melody notes are contained in chords we already know, so why not wrap them and surround them with kind of lower and higher register notes so we get that kind of beautiful, like enveloped kind of chord melody thing going on. Awesome! Have a lovely Christmas. Do lots of guitar playing. Like and subscribe to the page if you haven't done so already. Bye bye!